Hello, Russell Studios. Welcome back. Um, so I am back off a very, very extended trip. Um, I have noticeably been away, and that is obvious. And I apologize to my audience. I apologize to you as the viewers. Um, I had to take a personal break from the main channel. Um, Basically, I have been, and obviously, like you could tell, this is unscripted. Um, this is an update video. I have been living in Texas and in Florida, and like I moved from Calgary as now, if you're coming to this video as a new viewer, and you don't really know that, but as returning viewers will know, and fans of the channel will know, I was my studio was based out of Calgary, and we did all of our work out of Alberta. And I love Alberta. Great place. I have nothing wrong with it. But there was some very thermonuclear things that happened, and a good friend of mine, he passed away, and there was a relationship that like a long-term relationship that I was involved in, and it went thermonuclear, and things were not good. And everything kind of ended very badly. And so essentially, I had to leave. And so I departed Calgary, sold the house, got rid of the studio, and moved to Texas. So as I went down to Texas, obviously, after that, I spent several years there, um, going back and forth to Calgary, and then eventually I settled down there with my friend Derek, and and then we spent some time there. Um, I studied to become a firefighter and medic, which I ended up doing volunteer down there. Um, Spent a few years doing that. Then spent some time in Florida, and we ended up going through a hurricane. Actually, 4 hurricanes came through within the span of, I think it was like a span of like 2 months or something like that, something crazy. Um, it might have been less than 2 months. It was insane. And so we went from one evac point to the next evac point to the next evac point, and then volunteering along the way and helping out. And then we had to evac, and then the studio that I was setting up, um, that got flooded, and lost everything there. And then I got involved in applying for um, uh, this thing in Orlando, and so then I went to Orlando, and I was applying um, to be like as a entry or whatever um, into WWE, um, and that didn't turn out because of medical reasons, and my health was starting to deteriorate because of all the stress and problems and stuff like that I was going through, it was playing havoc on my heart and other issues and whatnot. And then I had previous nerve damage from other injuries and whatnot. So I ended up didn't didn't pass medical examinations and whatnot. So that was a shame, and that was very sad. And then of course because that didn't work out, then I decided to, at this point, after being evac and losing everything to the hurricanes, we were running out of money, and at this point, like losing the studio and having to sell the studio in Canada at the same time, and losing the studio in the States and losing everything there, it was at a financial point where I just could not do videos. I just couldn't afford to do it. I just didn't have the time to do it. I didn't have the place to do it. I wasn't able to do that. And at the same time, I was going through court problems or whatever with other people that we won't mention. But and this is when I was off in Florida, and so I had someone in Calgary that was trying to say that they were afraid that I was going to do something or whatever, but thankfully the judge said, well, he's not a threat if he's all the way in Florida, which is a pretty valid point. But anyway, so that's why I didn't end up returning back to Alberta. So then I came back to Canada, and now I'm settling down into Saskatchewan. And so then I've started this new podcast political channel that I've wanted to start for a long time, called Politically Polite. And so that channel is essentially, it's going to be about, well, obviously in the title it's about politics, obviously, but so that channel is going to be in a podcast style. Now obviously my setup is not that fancy right now because I don't have the same resources that I had back in Calgary. I don't have I don't have an editor. I don't, like, my editor, poof, gone. And I just don't have the same financials as I did, because I sent a lot of money into the States, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars down the tube. The Canadian government took over $500,000 in taxes from me, that we can maybe get into on that channel, on Politically Polite, but that was a complete nightmare. Essentially, I've been thinking this whole time that I want to go in a couple different directions with this channel. I've had some clarity and whatnot, and so I do want to continue with the lists, but I also want to have more wholesome content. I want to have more expansive content, and not just have the dry list format. So I will continue with the lists. And you have to give me some time to research that, because there is some research that goes into those lists. But I am going to continue with those. But I also want to start a new like science videos as well, where I break down take a scientific topic. Or even a history topic, right? Because I'm super into history, and I'm super into science. I'm a big science nerd, big history buff, and I would like to pick a topic and break down that scientific topic and break down that or that historical topic, and just go with the flow and talk about that specific topic for that video. And then we can have that as a long form format video. Now, I have been uploading, I've been experimenting with uploading some shorts to this channel, just so that I can have some extra videos uploaded to the channel, so I can have a little bit more consistency of having filling out that filling out the short and getting that watch content or whatever out there. But and I understand that the audience is different between the short content and the long form content. I totally understand that there's a different audience there between the two. And so we're definitely going to have that kind of separate, but there are going to be some crossover. I get that. So I just thought I'd give this update. That I am back in Canada now, obviously, and I would like people, if you're interested, I understand it is two very different types of audiences, but if you are interested in politics, now we're not going to get into politics on this channel, because I do want to keep this channel separate, and that's why I do not want to bring it like for those of you who do know me, or know about me, I am a politician, technically. I did run in elections. There are several elections I did run in. If you know, you know. And I am a founding member of a party. If you know, you know. I'm not going to say on this channel. Yeah, so like I said, if you know, you know. I don't want to mention it on this channel, because this channel is not a politics channel. I'm going to keep politics completely away from this channel, unless I'm like commenting using this channel, which is probably a mistake, but I sometimes catch myself doing that. So like the thing is what's important to understand is I used to have a team of people working for me, right? I used to have an editor, have media editing, camera, like equipment people, like drivers, and setup people, like studio people, audio, and designers, and like setup or like artists, and like all this kind of stuff. I don't have any of that now, because I don't have the budget for it. I've lost all the budget for it. So that's the important thing to remember, is that my budget just went to like zero. So it's just me working on everything now. So that's why. So like, I've got my green screen. I still have all my equipment, but I will admit that I am not as talented as they are, and I know my limits, where my talents are and where they are not, and my talents are not in video editing. I can do the voice impressions, I can do the camera work and stuff like that, but I am currently building a studio, but it's going to be several months before it is finished. Once it's finished, we'll give a studio tour. But that's in the mix. right? Like I had a studio built before in Calgary, and that was one thing, but now I've got to rebuild everything I can from scratch. So that's fun. Um, yeah, so that's kind of like what happened. I kind of went through this whole cycle of thermonuclear loss of everything, and which is something that I got to deal with. And to top it all off, I went like I think it was like a few months ago now. When I had a heart attack, so and ended up in Regina for like 2 weeks, and that was fun. So yeah. So that was you know that was not fun, but so as a 33-year-old, that's never it started off with like pneumonia, and it was like turned into pericarditis and blockage, and it was just like it was not fun. I could tell you it was not fun. It was like the weird thing is it was nothing that I did wrong from like my diet or anything like that. It was just like a freak accident that like happened because I got sick. Like crazy, crazy. So don't ignore it when you get sick. That's what I can tell you. But yeah, and well, actually, to top it off too, is that the hospital ignored it too, and clinic doctors and whatever, they also kind of ignored it too. They didn't want to give me antibiotics, which also kind of, they're like, it's not likely that it's bacterial. It's probably viral, right? So they were testing for several days. They were testing all kinds of different viral infections when it wasn't. It was bacterial pneumonia. But yeah, I digress. Anyways, yeah. So that's kind of been like the last couple of years, and that's why my posts have been very like slim. But I promise you, I do have some posts, some video projects that are in the works right now, and it takes a lot of research to work on it. Usually, it takes a lot of money, so I apologize that it won't be as high quality because I don't have the budget to put behind it. But I am working on some projects that I think you're gonna like. And yeah, like I said, we're still going to go ahead with the continuing of the lists, but we're going to try a new format with the history videos and the science videos. And I'm also going to put together a bit of a budget once the snow melts and stuff like that to do some outdoor videos where we're going to be talking about specifically, and I'm going to break that down into like a playlist kind of deal. But we're going to have some separate videos, not a whole separate channel because I think that's just way too much work. But yeah, I mean, if it doesn't do well, then maybe a separate channel for it. But I think that yeah, anyways, well, we'll see how it goes. But what I really want to do is a project where we take like a historical side of it, but we do, I say we, but it's really it's me. Now, I'm so used to saying we because it used to be a bigger company. Now we've downsized to me. But what I want to do is I have a big inventory of historical armor and weaponry and things from like the medieval period and the Roman period and stuff like that I would like to make videos of historical reenactment and historical fight scenes and stuff like that. The problem is I'm going to need a second person to also film with. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to recruit somebody for that. So I'm gonna have to find somebody. Um, but yeah, so but what I want to do is for that is I want to talk about the history of it, and then I want to demonstrate it, because one of the problems that I have um, with a lot of the historians or the archaeological um, people, like the archaeologists and the historians and stuff like that, is they go from like the modern perspective where they try to impose like their book knowledge or whatever. And these people, I'm not saying that these guys aren't very intelligent or smart, that they don't know what they're talking about, because they are clearly well researched. But but there's a difference between imposing a modern belief on something and like, well, this is most likely what this is or that or whatever. But when you're talking about weapon systems, armor systems, and they're saying, there's a lot of times it's hard to give a specific example, but I will give specific examples when I'm doing my videos. But and I'll be doing reactions to historians. But I have noticed where sometimes there are historians that will say, well, um, these fighters or these knights or these warriors or whatever, they would this is how you use this weapon, or this is how you utilize this armor, or this is how they would have historically done this and this and this and this. Now, me personally, I have fought in historical medieval martial arts. I have trained in it. I have taught it. I have physically worn the armor. I have physically fought and bled and sweat, and like I've physically been in like melees and physically fought aggressively with these historically made weaponry and historically made armor. And there are some instances where I see these historians say certain things where I'm going, actually, no. And there's sometimes where I disagree with them and I go, well, not really, because like I've seen, for example, where historians will say, well, they wouldn't use it this way or whatever, and it's like, well, in a fight, sometimes you will use a weapon in some very strange, unconventional ways. Or sometimes you will use, armor in some very unconventional ways. And that's just the nature of warfare. And, and so you see some very strange things when you are in the thick of a battle. And you can look at the sources, and you can look at the iconography, you can look at what's written and what's talked about, but until you've actually tested it, and not just tested it on a dummy, right? Because if you test it on a dummy, you only get a piece of the information, right? When you've actually fought, worn the armor, and actually fought in the armor and fought with the weapons and fought against another moving human being that fights back and does things that you're not expecting, right? And moves in a way that you're not expecting, that's when you get unexpected things, right? And so those are factors that you cannot just read in a book. That's not something that you can't, that you're going to see in iconography. That's not something that you're going to look at a sword and go, oh, well, they must have used it this way, right? That's a piece of information that I think is lost in translation. That's something that is that as a book nerd, or as a historian or whatever, you kind of lose a bit of that information unless you are also grabbing a piece of that information from from the historical fighters and stuff like that. And so that's why I think historical medieval martial arts is actually very important. Because and people say, well, that's LARPing and whatever. But the thing is the modern military today, LARPs. Okay? They do. They absolutely do. They do operations where they train in full kit with their full weapons and everything to get used to battle and everything. Firefighters do it. Guess what? Yeah, we do. Put on our full bunker gear or full equipment and everything, right? Why? Because we need to get used to going into a situation carrying our full kit, and we need to know what it's like, right? Before, to prepare us for a situation. It's not anything different, right? And then if you need to get into the mindset to perfectly get into the mindset of what was it actually like back then, yeah, you can't jump into a time machine, but so the closest thing that you can get is by wearing historically accurate armor and by using historically accurate weapons, by using historically accurate techniques, and studying the manuals, studying the manuscripts, studying the information, and then actually putting it to the test by actually fighting in those techniques, and then seeing, does it make sense? Does it work? Right? And if it doesn't, then what you do is you fight in a manner that makes the most sense to keep yourself alive in the battle. And guess what? That's how they would have fought. Right? And people can argue with that all day, but a human being, at the end of the day, in a battle, will fight to preserve their life. Right? Whether it prescribes to what's said in the manual or not. Yeah. So I would love to make videos like that, and I would love to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Yeah, so I'd love to make those type of videos, those kind of medieval and ancient type videos. Definitely open to collaboration with other creators that also do that kind of thing. Definitely open to that 100%. Yeah, so reach out to me if you do that kind of thing. I definitely need a hand with that. Yeah, so but I'm also definitely want to get into those science videos as well, explaining scientific topics, totally into that. As far as the politics go, though, you're gonna have to go to my other channel called Politically Polite, and you can look at my Politically Polite X profile, and you can get any updates on there. I'm trying to post regularly on that as well. Yeah, so we're going to be doing that. So that's going to be fun. So I just thought I'd post this update and let you know of any further updates. So let me know if you have any ideas or what your thoughts are down below in the comments. And I will see you in the next video. Stay vigilant.